Hey everyone, welcome back to Glass Seats. This is Viddy.
And my name is Mrinal, and in this episode, we are continuing on the journey to the Stanley Cup final.
Yes.
Starting with the second round of the playoffs. Hope you guys enjoyed the first round action.
Thriller.
Absolutely. I like a lot of these series started kind of slow, but it picked up at the end.
Yeah,
honestly delivered.
Even the ones that were short have felt really like entertaining this year. Sometimes you see a couple blowout series, excluding maybe Rangers Capitals, because Capitals weren't a playoff team.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But even the 1-0 games have been fantastic.
Yeah, they've been tense for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we are previewing the second round Eastern Conference in this episode. If you're looking for the Western Conference, check out the next episode. By the time this episode drops, game one of the Carolina-New York series will have already happened.
Yeah.
But we don't know that because this is back in time. We're time traveling.
Yeah.
So we'll be previewing these series with no knowledge, but hope you guys enjoy this and we'll get started.
Yeah.
Let's start in the Atlantic. Boston Bruins will be taking on the Florida Panthers in the second round.
Yeah.
Before we preview those two teams, let's talk about how we got here.
Yeah.
Florida takes down the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round in 5 games.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
Oh my God. I think this is literally just a switch because a couple years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, the roles would have been reversed, and they were reversed actually, because you had Tampa sweeping Florida and stuff like that. Like Florida was good. They were a playoff team, but they weren't a cup contender in my opinion. And now I think those roles have changed. Tampa is good, but they're probably either just tired or they were like a little bit lackluster. They didn't have Mikhail Sergachev until game 4 or something like that. That probably hurt them quite a lot. Florida is the real deal. They look like dogs now. So
are the Panthers going to start getting all the free agents because now they got
probably
they got the beneficial tax laws.
They got the sunshine.
Yeah, everything Tampa was using to its advantage during its run. Same applies to the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, and the Panthers branding is better than the Lightning's branding. So if you care about that,
we're more of a red and white than a blue and white here.
It's just stop using the clip art logo, please.
Yeah, and I do want to point out, in that series, it felt like Bobrovsky won the goalie duel.
Yeah,
but if you look at his stats, they're not out of this world. 2.78 goals against average, 0.896 save percentage.
Yeah,
very middle of the road.
I wish you could put a stat on how much mental intimidation there was, because we talked about it, I think it was last episode, where a goalie that makes one of those monster saves, it really gets in the head of the opponent.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that the when he robbed Matt Dumba, that was like the game or the series changing save, but I'm sure it definitely got in the Lightning's head a little bit, right? When you see that, it's just like, how do you get past this?
Yeah, and Florida has played with a lot of heart. Florida is mad. You get the sense that they have unfinished business from last season, losing in the final.
Yeah.
So they're on a tear right now.
That's what I mean. This Florida team looks like they're out with vengeance. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There's something they haven't finished for sure.
Let's contrast that to their opponent, the Boston Bruins, who defeat Toronto in 7 games in the first round.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I thought that we were seeing deja vu, but
we said it in the preview. Bruins in 7.
Bruins in 7.
Happens every time.
Death, taxes, and Bruins in 7 against the Leafs. Yeah. So.
But how we got to that 7 was a lot different than previous years.
Yeah, nobody expected
Typically,
that.
it's the Leafs getting a series lead and then losing game 6 or game 5 to end up at 7.
Yeah.
In this case, the Bruins took the series lead, lost a bunch of games to get to game 7 before they ultimately won it in 7. The Leafs, of course, having some injury trouble with their goalies. They went from Ilya Samsonov to Joseph Woll, and then had to go back to Samsonov when Woll got injured. So, not the ideal roster for the Leafs. Of course, that's not even talking about their forwards, where
Nylander was out the first half.
Austin Matthews out the second half. Everyone finally coming together for game 7, where they finally lose.
Can we talk about how, it's hard to completely let Matthews off the hook here because, he didn't play as well as he should have, especially when you put up 69 goals. But the guy looked terrible out there. When I say terrible, I mean he looked like death out there.
Yeah, he was clearly sick. Yeah. So, no one's accusing him of faking or anything. Yeah. But he had a dominant game 2 where the Leafs won and then just, fell to illness, looks like.
I don't think they've disclosed what it was, but I'd be curious to know what kept him out like that. So
I mean, to keep a hockey player out of the playoffs, it's had to be serious.
Yeah.
But,
Either way,
end result
Boston
is
prevailed.
the same. Yeah. Boston wins in 7.
Yeah, and it was kind of interesting. I don't remember what stream it was on, but literally, like they were talking about before the Pastrnak goal was, sometimes these overtimes are weird because it takes a fortuitous bounce and then somehow it's on your stick, and then the puck literally went into the corner and bounced weird and went straight to Pastrnak, and that was it.
Who deked out Samsonov and put it in.
Yeah, it literally called it. So yeah, it sometimes it just either team could have won this series. So. Yep. It just boiled down to Boston.
Let's talk about the second round now. Boston versus Florida. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts? What are your predictions?
Florida. I'm sorry. Boston, it shouldn't take this many games to beat the Leafs, especially when you're up 3-1 like that. And as we just mentioned, Florida, they got unfinished business here. I see Florida in 6. I think they're going to clean out Boston.
I'm going to have to agree with you. It took Boston. It took you 7. It took fortuitous bounce. It took a stellar performance from Jeremy Swayman.
Yeah.
To get you here. I think Swayman's performance wins you 2 games, but Florida is the better team.
Yeah.
I think Florida wins this in 6. It should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's move on to the next division. The Metropolitan Division will see the Carolina Hurricanes take on the New York Rangers.
Yep.
How they got here, Carolina takes down the New York Islanders in 5 games. Mm-hmm. Thoughts?
I hate, it's not saying that the Islanders didn't go out without a fight. They did even up that final game, what was it, game 5 to 3-3 at some point before it ended up becoming a 6-3 thing off just some like brutal bounces again. But I don't know. It really didn't feel like the Islanders stood a chance. I'm going to be honest here. Like it's just they got outplayed in every aspect, and it showed. The better team won. Textbook better team won. So.
After our previews, I was very confident Carolina in 4, and I was almost right. It took a double overtime for New York to win that game.
That's what I mean, yeah.
And, I watched other creators' previews. I watched the previews on TV, and I thought I was going insane. Everyone's like, oh, no, there's a chance for the Islanders here. They could push it to 6. And I was like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
I thought I was going insane. Islanders had a losing record and a negative goal differential. You're going against Carolina, who has been dominant all season long and added Jake Gensel at the trade deadline.
Did they have a negative goal differential?
Yes.
I didn't know that. Okay.
They did. Everyone was talking about Washington, but Islanders had one too.
I didn't know that. Okay.
They were just a team that got hot at the end, but Carolina got hot too. Yeah. So it's not like that could have overcome anything. So, I feel very validated that Carolina absolutely smashed them.
Can we talk about that Kuznetsov pickup too? He's been killer for Carolina. Oh my God. He's been like probably the best. I would argue he's better than the Jake Gensel pickup. Not discrediting that, but that Kuznetsov pickoff was very clutch for that team.
I mean, Carolina looks strong.
Yeah.
And Freddie Anderson has been putting up some great numbers since coming back. I'm just hoping he can keep that up.
Yeah. If we could get a Carolina-Florida East Finals, ooh, that would be crispy. I guess it's a rematch,
it'll
right?
Be a rematch.
Yeah.
And last time Carolina got swept.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's talk about their opponent. The New York Rangers take down the Washington Capitals in 4 games, swept the Washington Capitals.
Anything, I mean, I could have excused one game, like if, not discrediting Washington entirely because, Lindgren was really good. Charlie Lindgren was the Washington Capitals this series.
Yeah.
But when you have, Mika Zibanejad and Artemi Panarin and Shesterkin, especially on the other end, good luck. Good luck. Yeah, I'm sorry. Washington was not supposed to be here, and anything less than 5 would have been a disgrace. So this went as I expected.
And it showed that Washington wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Washington is a team that is out of gas in the tank.
Do you, actually, theoretical question, do you think either Pittsburgh, Detroit, or even Philly would have put up more of a fight?
I mean, not the way they ended their season.
Right, that's what I'm wondering. Yeah, I feel like maybe Pittsburgh and Detroit could have, just based on Detroit maybe with a little bit of heart, Pittsburgh because of the playoff experience. But either way, I think the Rangers were going to prevail in this.
No, I think the Rangers were going to win in 4 or 5.
Yeah.
None of those teams really stood a chance.
Yeah.
If you're talking about Detroit, like in January, February, yeah, maybe.
Sure, maybe.
But then they fell off a cliff at the end of the season.
That damn trash patch.
Yeah. That's what I was saying when we did our previews.
Yeah.
Washington didn't make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Detroit failed.
Missed the playoffs.
You know? So it should have been Detroit, and it should have been, and it showed.
Yeah.
And let's be honest here. For Rangers and Carolina, neither one of them were pushed.
No.
In the first round.
No, it was both those teams lost a grand total of 1 game.
Yeah.
In double overtime. Off a bounce. So, yeah.
Neither one of them was really pushed.
Yeah.
So for them, I think playoffs start now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Carolina versus New York.
Which is a good test because they're both playing each other. So it's very even, in my opinion. So.
And what do you think about that series?
That one's going to be a tough one. I honestly, I have no validation to this answer other than what you told me last week about was the mayor of Raleigh.
The mayor of North Carolina, or
the governor of North Carolina.
I forgot. Some politician who was near the hurricanes.
Apparently, he was talking smack about, like, was it the cry shirts or was that something else?
Yeah, that was something else. But he tweeted, "Always nice to get a playoff warm up from the Islanders."
Oh yeah. If there's anything I've learned as a hockey fan, when you start exhibiting hubris before you've won the Stanley Cup, it usually doesn't end well. So based on that alone, I'm just going to go ahead and say Rangers in 6.
Honestly, it could go either way.
Yeah.
Like, these teams are very evenly matched. The goaltending battle between Freddie Anderson and Igor Shesterkin is going to be phenomenal.
Yes.
We haven't seen their forwards really be pushed and have to score in critical situations yet.
Yeah.
So, that's hard to see what's going to happen. Special teams, really, how much stock can you put into it when their opponent was not of the same caliber, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to put stock in any of the numbers. So I can see this going either way. I have backed Carolina since the beginning of the season. Our way too early cup predictions. Mine was Carolina.
Yeah.
I'm not going to waver now.
Okay.
I got Canes in 7.
Okay. Yeah. For no other reason other than, the superstition thing, New York in 6. And yeah, these are two very evenly matched teams, and they're coming off of similar first round victories. So I think this is, if you want like a David versus Goliath type of battle, I think this is it for the East. So
it's going to be a tight series.
Yeah.
Let us know your thoughts about the second round Eastern Conference below. We'd love to hear them.
Yep.
This show is Glass Seats, and we have 3 episodes out every week. Our next episode will be the Western Conference preview, so stay tuned for that. Mm-hmm. And we'll continue covering storylines here through the playoffs. So hit subscribe if you want to follow along on all of that. We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.